Hello and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. I'm Alex.
I'm Julio, and thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, head over to Apple Podcasts to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Help promote the algorithm and spread the word.
You can also find us on SoundCloud to subscribe and review. And don't forget to visit our main website, wearethecontrarians.com.
Follow us on Twitter at Contrarian Prime, and to like us on Facebook, visit facebook.com/Contrarian Prime.
And if you have the willpower to keep up with our pretentious ramblings, you can follow us individually at Contrarian Alex for myself and at Ovnio for Julio. That's OVNIO.
Now, time for the podcast. All right, we are recording for Contrarians Corner for The Fly.
Off to the races. The fly races, that is.
Fly fishing.
The fly politicians. Have you ever heard of a fly politician?
Well, now I have.
Fly politics. Yes, 'tis us, the Contrarians, and welcome back to our fateful podcast where we're right and you're wrong. My name is Alex, and I am joined, as I am on every episode of the Contrarians, by my co-host and friend Julio. I would say the Ronnie to my Seth, but we haven't crossed that bridge yet.
No, that's probably like 10 years from now, like the 15th anniversary of the Contrarians.
What's the movie with Christopher Plummer where he's gay like when he's in
Beginners?
his 70s? Yeah, that's the beginners era of the podcast. Yes, welcome. We are here today to tackle The Fly, much as Jeff Goldblum tackled this role.
How he tackled Gina Davis.
No joke. He was a bit aggressive with that.
This movie is just Gina Davis getting tackled left and right.
She just is put through the washer and the dryer over and over again in this film. For those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, just give a quick rigmarole. This is the Contrarians. This first portion here is Contrarians Corner, jestingly referred to as #CC from time to time. This is where we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine. So for The Fly, I do believe it's at 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's a big, shiny red tomato.
So we'll rage against that. We can make it rotten.
Oh, yeah. Much like Goldblum, by the end of this movie, we will make this rotten. With that being in mind, being a 92% on the Rotten Tomatoes, that means a whole hell of a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, and it being a movie from the 80s, that means that the percentage of quotes is, there's only 2 rotten quotes, and then, a whole bunch of fresh ones. Mm-hmm. But so we'll go with some fresh ones first, and then we'll get to the couple of rottens in the second half of the show. Not Contrarians Corner, Real Talk, where you find out exactly how we feel about the movie.
Correct.
All right, so we start with Richard Corliss from Time Magazine, who says, a gross your eyes out horror movie that is also the year's most poignant romance.
All right.
Joe Baltake from Philadelphia Daily News says, it is a fright film, a morality play about being devoured by one's work, and, most powerfully, a sad, sad love story of doomed partners. Christopher Smith from Bangor Daily News, Maine, says, Kafka would have loved it.
Okay.
Kevin Carr from 7M Pictures says, few films caused so much buzz in the horror world than The Fly.
Boo.
Kevin Carr, you should be ashamed of yourself.
The previous one, just for whatever reason, made me think of The Office, where Michael tells Helen, his girlfriend at the time, he's like, I don't get your references. I don't know who Kafkaesque is.
And finally, Gene Siskel from the Chicago Tribune says, as slimy and as grotesque as some of its special effects become, The Fly is a far superior horror film to the top-grossing film in America of late, Aliens.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just pump the brakes.
Why would you bring Aliens to the conversation?
Because it was in the theater at the same time.
Yeah, but still, what is that? That is
especially knowing Gene Siskel in particular's utter disdain and hatred for the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street franchises. I'm surprised he didn't take a pot shot at one of those.
Well, it's just like that's the Armand White way of criticizing a movie or reviewing a movie, where he'll just compare it to whatever
for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Just let it stand on its own, not on, this looks bad or this looks good in comparison to this other movie.
And also, Aliens was fucking awesome.
Why would you make me choose between two good things?
Come on, Gene.
But anyway, two bad things, because this is Contrarians Corner.
32 years ago. Come on, Gene. Contrarians Corner. So, Seth Bumble, our lead, the incomparable, often imitated, never replicated.
Seth Bumble? Did you just call him Seth Bumble?
Jesus, I got fly on the brain. Sorry. Seth Brundle.
I mean, he bumbles a lot.
He does.
He's a bumbling scientist.
We would come to know him as a bumbling scientist and love him as one, and that is Jeff Goldblum.
Baby Goldblum.
Yeah, with the hair, like he had like a silken tan, like he was olive almost. I mean, it's hard to imagine Jeff Goldblum as a sexual tyrannosaur, but
one more to the list of Contrarians discoveries when it comes to sexual magnetism.
Speaking of which, on the other side of the coin, we had Veronica Ronnie. I don't know how they pronounce her last name. Quafi. That's the character name. Regardless, played by the criminally underutilized throughout all of history, Gina Davis.
We need more Gina Davis in our lives.
Where were we? Where were we? Where were they when this movie started? Were we at like a museum or like a press event?
It was some sort of mixer.
A speed dating round? Yeah.
I don't think that they knew where they were, or at least one of them at least wasn't aware, because Goldblum thinks that he is hooking up with Gina Davis, and Gina Davis is a journalist who thinks that she's just going for an interview.
Yeah.
How do you get that mixed up?
Alcohol.
Also, it's the 80s. So a woman holding a job?
He's just, I've got cocaine at my home. So he takes her back, and he's a known scientist. They leave, again, whatever event they're at. I don't know. The president could have been in town for all we fucking know. Horrible job of setting the scene. We go back to Seth Bumble's, Brundle's.
Just call him Bumble. It's better.
We'll just call him Bumble throughout the movie. We go back to Bumble's apartment that looks like the fucking building that the Joker ties up Rachel Dawes in The Dark Knight Rises. It's just like this old abandoned warehouse.
I was thinking Roger and Mark's just warehouse apartment and rent.
Yes.
It's the same decor. It's just abandoned, no electricity almost, in the worst part of town. And Gina Davis just goes with him.
He's like, it's much nicer inside. Oh, okay. I'll bring my beautiful smile upstairs along with you.
I mean, I know she's trying to be taken seriously as a journalist, but does she even have mace?
She would have been safer in Afghanistan in 2002 at this point. They go up there. He right away just wants to show off his teleportation machine. Doesn't even offer a drink. He's like, hey, look what I made.
He plays the piano for a little bit.
Oh, that's right. He just goes up there and starts playing the piano. Which, again, it serves no purpose to setting the mood. I think it's just fucking Jeff Goldblum learned how to play a song on the piano. He's like, David, come here. You know what would be really good? For the Bumble character, that is. If I play this piano. And Cronenberg's, yeah, whatever. I'm going to pull a worm out of Gina Davis later in this movie anyway.
This is just warm up.
Just keep it rolling. But this is never going to see the light of day. But what does he teleport? Her stocking? Or he explains that he built a teleportation machine. Can only teleport inanimate objects. Or he hasn't explained it to her yet, but he basically just wants to show off.
Yeah, but this is crazy, right? Because he is not aware that she's a journalist. So this is really how he gets laid. He picks up a girl at whatever social gathering he's at, and then he goes, do you want to see my
whatever art unveiling that they were at?
Yes. And then because this is supposed to be a secret, right? Once he finds out that she's a journalist, he freaks out and he's like, you can't tell anybody, right? But he was picking her up using that. So he can just grab a random girl and be like, do you want to see my teleportation machine? And teleport her underwear. And that's how he gets laid. That's his go-to game while he plays a little bit of piano, and that's it.
And he just looks the way he does.
The 80s were a crazy time.
They were. You know, it was like this whole movie was like whatever the demon or hell version of Big is. And I feel that Seth Brundle's apartment was much like the Josh Baskin's apartment, but only for a fucking maniac.
Yes. Well, he is just a walking red flag. And it's even worse for Gina Davis because on his end,
wears the same outfit every day.
Yes, so he has a piano that he plays.
The only nice thing in his apartment is a piano and a teleportation machine.
He keeps baboons in one of the rooms apparently, but no, he's just terrible. I mean, the hair from the beginning, just the hair would be that gives you those American Psycho vibes.
Yeah.
And then everything from there. I can't believe that Gina Davis does not take off. And she even says a couple times, maybe I should leave.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody on the other end of the screen goes, yes, leave.
Let's wrap this up. Teleports her stalking. She's been recording the whole conversation. I forget the magazine that she works for, but a science or like an invention type magazine. It's going to blow the lid off of this whole teleportation gimmick that he's got going. Her editor, Stathis Borans, played by John Getz, doesn't believe her.
What do you need, John Getz? Have you seen Little Level 3?
No.
That's a Joe Pesci character. It's Leo Getz.
Oh, okay.
And that's his thing. What do you need, Leo Getz?
What, Lethal Weapon 3?
Yeah, and 4.
Joe Pesci's in those?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Actually, he might show up in the second one.
I think I've only seen the first one. And then I saw 2012, where Danny Glover fired a pistol at the JFK airplane carrier coming in doing rigs. Yeah, so Stathis, her editor at this magazine, does not believe her, says it's a bunch of malarkey. He's just trying to get in your pants.
So this guy's the worst.
Yeah. He looks like an 80s bad guy from like a fucking Disney movie that steals the kid's dog or something.
Well, it's 80s Zach Galifianakis. But not playing it for comedy.
No.
If he's just playing it serious. And he is 80s masculinity distilled to its worst, to its most pure, just to its purest form.
Yes.
Right? He is just sexist and overbearing, completely condescending to Gina Davis.
Self-absorbed.
Just because she's a woman, he basically sees her as somebody that, because she made the mistake of hooking up with him once, which establishes that she has terrible taste in men.
Mm-hmm.
Now he just lets himself into her house whenever he wants and just treats her like, well, it's a favor. He did her a favor just by hiring her, I guess.
He's the bad guy from Big.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's John Hurt.
Yes. Thank you. I was blanking on his name, but there you go. With that in mind, while he doesn't think it's real, Seth Brundle doesn't want the lid blown off of his secret yet. So he shows up at the magazine, wants to take Ronnie out for a cheeseburger. He said, one word for you. Cheeseburger.
Takes her to McDonald's.
It's
more red flags.
Whack Arnold's. It's not even McDonald's proper.
McDowell's.
Andy McDowell's. Malcolm McDowell's. Get you French fries. Explains that he cannot teleport living matter. That he hasn't figured out yet how to transport living beings. That he can only transport inanimate objects. So much so that he takes her back to his again bunker in an apartment. And tries to use a baboon and teleport it, and he fucking turns it inside out.
So do you think that he stopped trying an inanimate objects because that's all he needed to get laid? Really, the trick of teleporting someone's panties was enough.
He put, he did like Homer in the Treehouse of Horror. He put the teleport in front of the toilet, and then the other one by his couch, so he tried to, and then he got burned. And, just decided, no, this has got to go. We're only transporting stockings and copies of Highlights magazine from now on.
My insurance doesn't cover, so he fucks up a baboon. David Cronenberg, he can't help himself. I've seen a handful of Cronenberg movies, and they're just gross.
He doesn't skimp on the viscera.
Yeah, and this is just, I mean, why?
It's a good question.
You could show some restraint, Cronenberg, and I would still get the idea. I'll need to see it in full gory detail how the baboon was turned inside out by the machine.
But you do, and it's still like fucking convulsing and twitching and shit.
Right.
So I hope at this point Ronnie believes him, but there's no reason she had to have seen all this. He made his point, but she still wanted to go through with it, so he feels, I need to show her death in order for her to understand this. He then has sex with Ronnie, as you do. I mean,
Gina Davis, what are you doing with your life?
She's the beacon of hope in this movie, and she's already just horrible decisions one after the other.
Right. It's not even that she was suddenly attracted to him because he was successful.
Mhm.
He royally fucks up, kills a baboon, and now she's turned on.
He's rewarded. And then when they're having pillow talk or whatever, he rolls over and he gets a computer chip embedded into his back. Why not? Cuts him open. Gina Davis pulls it out, says, "Let me kiss it." And then somehow this makes him realize that he never rigged up the machine to cope with living tissue. So he's trying to move living things, but he never coped it to. And so he figures out how to do it by cooking a steak in it.
He's a terrible scientist.
It's true.
I mean, that baboon that died, he's like in baboon heaven. He's going, well, it would have been nice if you thought about this before you
Should have
sent
cooked
me in
that
this
fucking
suicide
steak
mission.
before you put me in there.
Yeah, why is Gina Davis offering to cook him steak too before they even hook up?
No. He puts the steak through the
No. But remember, before they have sex, she goes because he's all bummed because the experiment failed,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes, "Do you want me to cook you a steak?"
Oh, wow. I didn't even catch that.
That's why.
So she stays the night. They successfully teleport a baboon after rigging up the machine to cope with living tissue. So they're going to celebrate when what happens? Gina Davis finds a letter that was sent by her editor that
Well, the first time she spends the
has
night,
like the original Star Wars poster for the cover, but it's Jeff Goldblum
the
on
Marvel Comics version
Yes.
of Jeff Goldblum there.
it,
No,
where he's Apocalypse looking over the universe.
her editor, Evil Galifianakis, he's been waiting outside the building for who knows how long.
That's the best part. She goes to leave after she sees this because she's like, fuck, this dude's going to fuck this up. I like Jeff Goldblum. And he's just been like outside for God knows how long.
Evil 80s bad guy. You know, it doesn't follow logic. He's in the movie just to be a pig and to terrorize Gina Davis. I mean, a couple of scenes earlier, he throws a fit when he sees her at the department store. She's buying clothes for Jeff Goldblum, apparently.
No, that's where he follows her, but he throws a fit a few scenes earlier when she wants her key back to her apartment.
Right. He's showering in her apartment and never gives her the key back.
No, because she leaves and she's out shopping for him because he has 5 of the same outfit. Not a red flag at all, but yeah, he then like publicly shames her in a department store.
He gets on his knees and doesn't he? Gets on his knees and starts just kind of like worshiping her and just telling her something like, I don't remember, but he throws a fit because she's
And
having sex with.
He's
Bumble.
like, would this look good on him? And he's like putting all these clothes up to his chest. It's embarrassing for all parties involved.
Right, but at what point does Gina Davis call the cops? Right, this guy refuses to give her back her key to her apartment. That alone, I would think, and has already broken into it.
She's Jennifer Lopez in The Boy Next Door. She just needs to fucking call the cops and solve all this.
Yeah.
And much like that, someone got shot in the end. While she's out, Seth Brundle, drinking on his own, late night, naked with a baboon. It always is going to lead to nothing good.
It's a hell of a party.
It is. He decides he's going to go ahead and test this son of a bitch out with himself. So he gets in there and completely nude. It looks like the opening of Terminator. It's actually pretty fucking cool.
But why? I mean, why did
Your clothes. Give them to me.
Why did he have to be naked? I mean, I understand why Cronenberg wanted him naked because you gotta get that R rating. You gotta get the most out of it. But he could have teleported with clothes.
Well, you saw
right?
what happened when he teleported with a fly. If he had teleported with like a flannel shirt, this movie would be the flannel shirt, not the fly.
No, because he can already teleport synthetic stuff, inanimate stuff. The thing with the fly is because it's 2 living organisms, so he combines them. Why he's talking about teleporting people all over the place? He's going to solve transportation problems. Are you telling me that people are going to be teleporting naked all over the country?
I mean, I would hope so. I don't want a fucking pair of hot pants embedded into my skin.
I don't think that this experiment, I don't think this technology is up to snuff yet.
I was about to say it's like the Terminator, but their technology was far superior to ours. But you can't go back in time with clothes. And they're machines. What? No, because Kyle Reese is naked when he comes back.
Yeah, why is Arnold naked?
Arnold's naked.
Yeah, but why? He's a machine. It shouldn't matter.
Oh man, we just took the lid off the jar of pickles right there.
Turns out the Terminator doesn't make as much sense as you thought.
So a fly gets in the teleportation machine, the teleporter, the pod. Fuck, I can't speak.
That's why you don't drink and teleport.
Yes, and you don't get naked with a baboon.
Yeah, from the moment that your night involves having a baboon in the living room, that's just...
Again, red flags around this guy. Just has a couple baboons chilling in his apartment. So he goes through the teleporter with a fly, and during the process of teleportation, the two beings merge.
But he doesn't notice.
He does not. But his cut is beginning, where that computer chip was embedded, it's beginning to sprout insect hairs like you would see on fucking spiders, flies.
But he doesn't care. He's just like, oh, well, you know.
I'm becoming hairy.
When you get old, hair starts growing out of your back.
He also has incredibly heightened senses. He's able to catch flies out of the air, and he's turning into a machine, quite frankly, over a very quick period of time. I read, I think it takes it's less than 5 weeks that this entire thing takes place over.
But they never... I understand at this point, I guess, because Gina Davis, she must be... what do you call it when you can't see the color red? Or you get red on...
Are you talking about rose-tinted glasses?
No, I guess she's colorblind.
Okay.
Right? Because she is...
They call it something different in Peru?
Well, is it daltonic? Daltonism? When you get red and green mixed up.
Okay.
But anyway,
that's Dayquil and NyQuil.
Because she just can't see the red flags, right? Still, you would think that she would be a little worried about the fact that now he has almost superpowers, superhuman stamina.
Yeah, she comes out and watches him doing like a fucking Cirque du Soleil routine in the living room of his bunker apartment, and just, this is normal.
Right, they smile at each other when it's done.
Yeah.
Don't you think maybe you should run some tests? Especially because he admits that, well, I just went through the thing myself without testing the baboon.
Yeah.
And I was drunk. Don't you think you should look over the files? Because literally, the key to what's going on with them, it's not like it's hidden. It's there on the reports. When he finally gets around to running the reports on the computer, it just spells it out for him.
Like, it's no wonder this was based on a short story, because this movie is about 5 minutes of information crammed into 96 minutes. He's becoming a machine. His sexual drive becomes way too much for Ronnie to handle. She doesn't understand how he continues to be able to go.
The most awkward sex scene, because she says that they've been going for hours.
Yeah.
And but when we come into it, she's wearing a robe, and she's on top of him. And it's like, has she been wearing the robe the entire time? Or was it that she was done, she was putting the robe on, and he was like, nope.
He grabbed her for more. And she notices something's happened to him. Specifically, the increased sex drive and ability, and also he's just devouring a startling amount of sugar.
Also, nobody mentions this until much later in the movie, but his face looks messed up.
Yes.
And nobody, I mean, she's having sex with him.
At this point already, he's looking, he
still
rode
looks
hard,
like,
put up wet.
Right.
Yeah.
He looks like Jeff Goldblum, but he's got something going on.
Looks like Bizarro Jeff Goldblum. He wants to teleport Ronnie. He feels the way he feels with his heightened senses and animalistic tendencies, that she'll have that too if she goes through the teleporter. This is where Gina Davis actually is smart in this movie and pretty much tells him to go fuck himself. No, I'm not doing that.
Finally. But then he yells back at her.
Yeah, and tells her to get the fuck out, and calls her a coward or chicken shit, and says, fine, you don't want to be part of the dynamic duo. And what are you, dude? How old are you?
He basically, he just wants to have sex more.
Correct.
And she can't handle it.
To be fair, Gina Davis is a gorgeous woman, but...
Right, but come on, at some point...
There's only so much Goldbluming you can take.
And then his theory is that if she goes through the teleportation, her sex drive will increase the way that his has.
That's all he wants. That's all he cares about.
Worst scientist ever.
A horrible scientist. And he needs a subject, a test subject, so he goes out and looks for a lady of the night. He goes into Earl's bar or something. It's the bar from Halloween 4 where, come on, it's going down. And he challenges 2 local yokels that are arm wrestling to a round of arm wrestling. He'll put $100 on the line, and if he wins, he gets to take the woman home for the night.
Nobody consults the woman about this.
No. I know I had seen parts of this movie before we watched it. I had just never seen it sequenced, and I did not see this scene because I was eating Chipotle when this happened, and they're arm wrestling, and he fucking compound fractures this dude's arm. And in a very oddly cool moment, he takes the woman out the door, and Goldblum leaves, kind of like it's Travolta leaving the club for the last time in Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, the movie wants you to think it's cool. It's extremely reprehensible.
Yes.
That woman was not anyone's property.
No.
He could have taken $100 from the guy.
Yes.
Nobody said, yes, you can just take this woman, which he does. And then the worst part is, then she's cool about it. She's like, can we hit some more bars before we go to your place?
Yeah, they come back at like sunup. The worst part is they don't have like IHOP to go or some shit because they get back to his apartment where the sun's just coming up. And then it's implied that they go on an all-day sex fest, and he keeps trying to get her to go through the machine, and even she's like, no. I know I never met you. We just raw-dogged, but I'm not going through that teleportation machine.
He does, though. That is one of the biggest laughs I had in the movie was when he teleports.
He gets like aroused from it.
Yeah, he comes out. She's waiting for him. She's sitting on this couch, and her legs are all spread, and she has like one leg hanging off the arm of the couch. And he comes out of the teleportation. And I honestly thought that at least the teleportation was going to clear up whatever was happening with his face.
Yeah.
But no, then the mist goes away and he's still fucked up.
It's like the cover of a romance novel.
And then you get Goldblum ass.
You do. Goldblum ass, his cut's worsening, more deep, nasty animal hairs growing out of it. Insect hairs, excuse me. Ronnie shows back up, ruins the fun. Goldblum kicks her out. He says, I forgot to tell you I live with my mom. Hey, Mom. What a dick. And
that's our hero.
Yeah. That's our fly. Ronnie says that she cut off those hairs and ran them to a lab, and she comes back with test results and says they're not human. They're insect. They're consistent with insect hairs. And
how do you manage that? I guess she's a journalist, so maybe she has contacts. But then, so she
has someone in the lab.
And can you run this for me? Just hands him some hairs.
I mean, the thickness and consistencies of those hairs. I don't need a scientist to tell me that they're not human. She has to use like fucking wire cutters to cut them off. So Seth tells Ronnie off, says she's jealous. He starts punching a hole in a wall like a fucking amped up 15-year-old. Kicks her out, but he is a bit spooked by this, so he looks over the results and finds out that there was a fly in there with him and that they morphed together.
What a proper scientist would have figured out in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Would have figured out immediately after going through the teleport.
Well, I guess a proper scientist wouldn't have even gone through the teleport.
Yes.
A proper scientist would have noticed that there was a fly in there. Wouldn't have been drunk.
No. Yeah, that's the thing, too. Like, it's flying around. It's like,
he even sees the baboon try to catch it at some point.
Oh, this couldn't come back to haunt me in any type of way. Let's go ahead and do this. 4 weeks go by. Seth calls Ronnie and says, I've been afraid to see you. Now I'm afraid not to see you. Something like that.
I fucked up.
Yeah. I screwed up. I don't look good. I don't feel good. I need you to come over. So she does come over, and he is in a bad way.
We no longer have Baby Goldblum here. This is where the movie kind of cheats you out of Jeff Goldblum, future movie star.
He looks like a cast member from the show Dinosaurs halfway in costume.
Yeah, you're getting him. He's still in the makeup trailer.
Yes.
But then they pull him out to shoot.
Or like a slee stack that they didn't get made up all the way.
Yeah.
A great value slee stack.
It's like when you're watching Vanilla Sky and Tom Cruise gets this figure and now he has to wear a mask for the rest of the movie. This is not what I paid for. I paid for Tom Cruise. I didn't pay for Goldblum and dinosaur makeup. I paid for Goldblum.
Ryan Gosling in Drive when he wears that horrifying bald mask. Yes. Suffice to say, this is not the Goldblum, the sex icon that we spent the first half of the movie with. But again, this is well deserved for being such a goddamn terrible scientist. He sits down. He's just eating like Twinkies and donuts and all types of sugar. He begins regurgitating. He explains later on, like a real fly, he can't digest a solid, so he has to like dissolve them in order
melt
to
yeah. How is it that he doesn't have just a pile of shit, like literal shit, on his table?
He's still managing to use the restroom. He's a self-respecting man fly. And
I mean, if you really wanted to sell the idea that he's turning into a fly, because later he kind of becomes more like a Spider-Man.
is he crawling? He was already crawling on the walls, or has he started
No,
crawling?
no.
Okay.
When she first comes in, he's just
In bad shape.
in bad shape. Because he's still scared of what's happening.
His
And
ear falls off. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she hugs him.
She still loves him in a way at this portion. of the
Women.
movie. Jesus.
She doesn't know how to handle this. So she goes to apparently the only other person in the city that she knows.
Stalis?
Right. Why would you go to the biggest asshole
Stethis.
you know?
Excuse me.
Leo Getz. John Getz.
Leo Getz. John Getz. Borans. Stathis.
Galifianakis. Evil Galifianakis. Why would you go to him? He's proven to be a terrible person, and yet she doesn't go to the... I mean, she knew a lab person that could run tests on those hairs, so we don't go to that guy. I don't even know him. He never shows up in the movie, but I'm pretty sure that he's a nicer person than this guy, than Galifianakis.
He would have been played by the guy who played Casey Jones. What's his name?
Ilias Koteas.
Yes, there we go. It was a deleted scene. Wait, no. Turtles wouldn't have been out yet.
It could happen. A young Ilias Koteas.
It's possible.
So she goes to Galifianakis, and it's just a smash cut to Galifianakis going, "You should never go back."
Yes.
And then she goes back.
Through all
And
this,
Galifianakis goes, "Why would you even ask me for my advice if you're not going to follow it?"
through all this, though, we discover she's pregnant with his baby.
Well, that happens after the second visit.
Okay.
So she goes to visit him again, and now he's kind of happy that he's a fly, and he's crawling, and he's saying, "Maybe this is not so bad. Now let me show you how I eat." And then they do the video.
Okay, that's where I lost track there. He theorizes he's the Brundlefly. Film me. I'm going to show the world what's going on with me, my experiment, all this. Which again, completely jumping ahead, we don't see if anyone learns anything from this in the end.
Right. There's all this technology that, flawed as it was and dangerous as it was still world changing. The real movie I want to see is After the Fly. What happens when proper scientists get a hold of this technology and the world changes? This is maybe a prequel to Star Trek.
It's possible. He does theorize he's becoming a Brundlefly, though, a hybrid human and insect, as we talked about the way he's eating his food, but she has him film. This is when we cut to Stathis watching the video of this, just doing the, "Oh my God." We just see like his reaction watching
Just being all of us in the audience.
Exactly. And then she comes back in and she's upset. She's found out that she's pregnant with Seth's baby.
And
Not good.
the movie just goes there right away. Abortion.
And it's great because I imagine this was used in the trailer while Like a Virgin played in the background, where Stathis finds out that she's pregnant with Seth's baby, and he has the Harvey Fierstein reaction from the Independence Day trailer. Oh my God.
He has two "oh my gods," which made me think that the first "oh my god" was thinking that it was his baby. And then the second "oh my god" is when he realizes, no, it's been too long.
The only moment of true acting in this where he freaks out thinking it's his baby, is happy that it's not, and then realizes that she has an alien baby in her.
Yep.
John Getz, the fly.
Oh my god.
It's a fly.
And then it's just a smash cut to quite possibly the cheapest storytelling device. I hate it when filmmakers use it, because 99% of the time they don't use it well, and this is one of those times. The dream sequence.
Yes.
Padding doesn't change anything. It's just an excuse so that Cronenberg can get even grosser on screen. Because suddenly,
And grosser he does get.
yeah, she's in the hospital, and they're not. It's not them delivering the baby, right? It's them performing an abortion.
Yeah, truth be told, I've never seen what an actual abortion looks like, and it looks pretty intense.
Well, the language they were using did not sound like the language I've heard in other
9
birth
months.
scenes. Yes, there was no wacky Robin Williams running around. Well, they're talking about
I
like
just can't let
sucking
Julianne
stuff
Moore
out.
go. Yeah. They say there's a little bit more you got to push, and she starts like freaking the fuck out, and the guy at the helm of all this, the captain, is the cameo appearance by David Cronenberg.
And then you get the money shot. Do you think that was in the trailer?
I hope not. It's like the chest burster in Alien. It's like, well, I don't need to go see it now. Pulls out this giant larva that was growing inside of her.
And it's really dumb because, in a way, that's the movie peaking. Once you establish that that's a dream sequence, then what else are you gonna do to freak me out? I just saw a giant larva come out of Gina Davis's vagina. That's it. We're done. Roll credits.
We peaked.
Yeah. So then it just cuts and she's like cuddling in bed, freaking out.
Yes.
Well,
that was a scary dream.
Yeah.
See, it would have been great though if that was the whole movie was a dream up until that point.
She wakes up and then she says she has a text. Well, no,
and she has the magazine with the Marvel cover of Jeff Goldblum on it. Jeff Goldblum back at his apartment. Seth Brundle is becoming the Brundlefly. He's literally falling apart. His teeth are falling out. His fingernails are long gone. He's turned into like this fucking gelatinous mess of a human.
Squirting jizz out of his fingers.
Oh, dude, it's fucking disgusting. Yeah. He's doing his studies. He realizes he needs a human, what does it say? One or more human subjects to return him to normal, to get all the Seth Brundle goodness out of the fly.
I mean, you're not going to return to normal ever. Of course, we've established he's a terrible scientist, so I guess he doesn't see the problem with this theory. He's never going to go back unless he found another Jeff Goldblum to merge with. But he's not. He's just going to merge with another human. He's going to become more
if
human.
If he was smart,
maybe.
He would have lured those two rednecks from the bar, or just going back out to the bar and find,
just grab some random guy.
Yeah, exactly. This is where Ronnie, though, makes her last effort to see if there's anything salvageable of Seth.
Well, it's weird because it's that, but it's also because Galifianakis drives her there. I mean, we don't find out until the end of the scene, but he's waiting outside in the car, and
he's
it's
the
almost
getaway driver.
Yeah, but it's almost like he took her there so she could tell him that she is pregnant with his baby, and
she wanted to try to do the right thing.
Right, which is, I mean, at this point, things have gotten so complicated, and
he's become a mound of taffy. I think we're beyond
yeah, right, wrong. It's just let's just snip this. Just cut to the chase. Don't worry about the morality of it anymore.
And then he does the fucking monologue from the Elephant Man.
It's Goldblum's Oscar clip.
Do I amuse you? It is his Oscar clip because he starts just fucking rambling about insect politics.
Yeah.
And no, I never heard of him.
It's a shame that he's just covered in cakes of makeup.
Yes. You could, if you look deep enough, you'll see the single tear coming through, melting all the latex off. And he says, "If you don't leave, I'm gonna hurt you." At least he gives her fair warning.
And then finally, she leaves.
She does, and then she goes back down, and she tells John, "We gotta get an abortion."
And then he goes, "This is what felt weird. This guy is being an unrepentant asshole the entire movie." And suddenly, at this moment, he has qualms with, well, maybe he should know. Maybe
I thought it was weird he had a Bible with him waiting for her.
Okay, now it doesn't seem so weird.
He said, "I know it's been a tumultuous time, but you ever read this book before? It's good stuff."
Listen, you should have known better. And my taxes are not going to pay for the fixing of your mistakes.
So it's fucking the middle of the night, and she wants this abobo done quick. So they go and find, I guess, some doctor that John Getz knows.
Yeah, not covered by Aetna or Blue Shield.
The best part is it's not one of those things where they're waiting for him at his office, and he comes in like with his lab coat on. He's like, "This better be good. It's the middle of the night." He was just already there, like doing paperwork or some shit.
He was open 24/7.
And he's still annoyed that they came in. He's like, "You realize it's the middle of the night."
Yes, you're open.
And then they say, the father's deformed and we don't want. And he's like, whoa. The doctor, also being the voice of reason, speaking up that it is the 20th century. He's like, we can do tests on this stuff. You don't just have to make a rash judgment call right now.
Galifianakis is such a bad liar, too, because they ask him, "Are you the father?" And he said, "No." But his father is a man who may be deformed, but is not a fly.
He's got like the magazine that he's getting ready to print, and it's definitely not this guy.
His father did not used to look like Jeff Goldblum.
So they go in. She has to get ready for the procedure when the fucking door flies off Kool-Aid Man style, and there stands the Brundlefly. I don't know how. At no point up until this did they explain that he had like superhuman strength.
Well, I mean, you saw him snap that guy's arm when you were eating your Chipotle.
That's true, but snapping a guy's arm, that happens in real arm wrestling.
Not from Jeff Goldblum, though.
No, but my point being, we haven't established that he can break through a brick wall or anything yet.
Right, but he...
Nor does it explain how he did. The wall breaks and then the camera pans and he just... Yeah!
No, was it a wall or was it just glass? I thought it was a window.
Yeah, you might be right.
Because I think Galifianakis goes after to see what happened, and then he cuts his hand. Doesn't he lean against the broken glass because he's an idiot like everybody else in this movie?
Yeah.
And then he looks at his hand like he cut himself.
Fuck.
It was not a wall.
Hey, what the fuck? What'd you do in my office? It's the middle of the night, goddammit. Now I gotta call a construction crew.
Yeah, that abortion doctor is having the worst night ever.
That should have been played by like fucking Ted Knight or something, just to have him, or like Rodney Dangerfield, just heightened anger.
Mel Brooks.
It's very funny you mentioned that name. That'll come up in the second portion. So Seth kidnaps Ronnie, and his plan now is he's going to combine with her and their unborn child. He needs that, and then it's going to turn them all into one full person.
So it'll be like a family in one body.
Correct. John Getz appears on the scene.
Solid thinking.
I mean, his brain is... It's
tracks.
a wonder he can still talk.
It tracks with the way that Goldblum has been performing science through the entire movie.
I was about to say, his track record of science up until this point, you would watch this and go, yeah.
I believe that he did that.
So John Getz, Stathis, comes back to the apartment, and this is where shit gets gross, because the Brundlefly tackles him and starts spitting up his dissolving vomit on his hand, which deteriorates, and then also on his shin, so his foot and legs separate.
And he does the Amazing Spider-Man hand orgasm and then a foot orgasm, because he's not screaming like somebody. At first he screams a little bit, but then he's just having this facial expression of ecstasy.
I don't know. To be fair, if I was in that situation, I'd probably go into shock as well. Fucking bones are dissolving and shit, man. He's got a shotgun. He's trying to shoot him is the whole point of it.
Right. And Cronenberg is just close-up, extreme close-up of the dissolving limbs.
He's just got the ketchup squirt bottles offset. Just going ham with them. Brundlefly locks Gina Davis, Ronnie. I just want to continuously call her Gina Davis.
Well, she is Gina Davis.
She is. I don't care about the character name. Locks her in the pod. He's started the process of the final transformation.
So somehow, even though he's falling apart, his hands are so fucked up that he has to wear gloves. He's managed to create a third pod, right? Because most of the movie he had just the two pods.
Correct. So
and now he added a third one. So Gina Davis
so you
is going
can
to be
combine.
one. Right.
Yeah.
He is in one, Davis is in the other one, and then the third one would be Super Brindle. Brindle Davis.
The Rendell.
The Rendell.
There you go. And so he goes to his pod, but here we have armless, legless John Getz crawling into frame, and he is able to prop himself up and shoot the gun at the hose attaching Ronnie's pod, so it separates her from the pack.
This asshole gets the big hero moment of the climax. Gina Davis doesn't.
No.
She's just helpless. She's
the damsel in distress.
Woman. Yeah. She just gets thrown in. The most she does is she kind of like slaps Goldblum, and his jaw comes off, and then he's
reached his final form at this point.
Right. The makeup starts just falling off.
He is a 6-foot fly at this point.
Yeah. But still enough to overpower Gina Davis and throw her into the pod.
I thought it was really off tone though. Before when he did become the Fly, and then John Getz, Gina Davis, and the Fly all look in a mirror together, and then Jeff Goldblum says, "Well, it looks like I do have some more healing to do." It was a bit tonally off, but they pull it back around here. So he frees her, or at least her pod is no longer connected, and then. Fucking all that was missing was cutting to Jeff Goldblum as a full Fly just shaking his antenna like, hey, But he breaks out of his pod, and he's trying to get at him when he gets teleported. So I guess what happened was the door to the pod and him morphed into one?
Yeah, according to the computer, which this movie, every time that you need an explanation of what happened, cut to the computer screen that will tell you
it's
what.
the computer from Doogie Howser.
Yes. Computer, what happened? There's a point where Goldblum actually goes, "What happened?" And the computer tells him, "Oh, there was a fly. You fucking idiot." But yeah, the computer says fusion of Brundlefly and pod successful.
So he comes out, he's half machine, half bug.
Right. Going back to the Terminator.
Yes.
And naked, I guess.
And he comes out and he looks he's in rough shape.
To put it mildly.
And he crawls over, and Gina Davis has the shotgun, and she can't bring herself to do it. She just can't.
Even at that moment.
Yeah.
With like 10 seconds of movie left.
Where he just
Cronenberg refuses to give Gina Davis any sort of agency. She's just a mess. She's just crying. It's so the monster has to basically force her to kill him.
He takes his little claw and puts the shotgun to his head. And she backs away first to kind of size him up, and then she shoots him and kills the fly. Roll the credits.
Literally. What happened to the abortion? I want to know. Even more so, for Cronenberg to be so, I guess, such a maverick, right? He's pushing boundaries with just how gross shit can get here. What really, I think that he dropped the ball, because what I really wanted to see is, what does that look like? The fusion of Gina Davis, Brandon Fly, and the baby. What was going to come out of that pod, of the third pod? Now that would have been amazing, right? Some sort of the fusion of Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum. That alone.
Been a good looking person.
Yeah, and then it kills Galifianakis.
He just comes out like 9 feet tall.
Gorgeous.
Do you notice something different about me? Look closer, John Getz.
You want to fuck me now? But Cronenberg has no time to tie loose ends. It literally, she blows
20th Century Fox saw the runtime like 100, or was it an hour and 36 minutes? Cronenberg.
You know that you've lost half your audience the moment that Goldblum doesn't look like Goldblum anymore.
Yes. I mean, especially at that point, 86 Goldblum, that was, the rose had not fallen off the petal yet. The gold had not fallen off the bloom.
But yeah, that's it. It's over.
It is. It ends.
A story of a woman that made terrible decisions and a scientist that was the worst in his profession ever.
It ends as quickly as it began, and we learn nothing in the process.
Really? I mean, we were dropped right into that mixer at the beginning, right? No backstory or anything. And then we end with no epilogue, no 9 months later. She's cradling a larva or anything.
That would have been great. Just a little adorable little like centipede or some shit.
With Goldblum's that
should have been the closing shot. Like she's cuddling the little centipede or whatever, and John Getz is helping her raise it, and then we get the framed cover of the magazine by the windowsill as the sun's setting, and then we fade to black, and then
that explains everything.
A David Cronenberg joint.
Well, that was.
Let's put this into the teleportation pod and move on over to real talk.
Does that mean that we have to take our clothes off? Because I'm not ready for that.
I'm not either. I don't drink on the weekdays anymore, and yeah, I would need a few beers before we did something like that.
All right. Well, let's not teleport to real talk.
I came to tell you. I just. I wanted to see you before.
You have to leave now. And never come back here. Have you ever heard of insect politics? Neither have I. Insects don't have politics. They're very brutal. No compassion. No compromise. We can't trust the insect. I'd like to become the first insect politician. You see, I'd like to, but, I'm afraid,
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I'm saying, I'm an insect who dreamt he was a man and loved it. But now the dream is over and the insect is awake.
No, Seth.
I'm saying, I'll hurt you if you stay.
Okay, we are recording for Real Talk for The Fly.
Probably picking up on me fucking with my mic. Yes, Real Talk for The Fly. That was a difficult first portion because I really enjoyed this movie. But there's a lot you can pick at about it. So
It's an 80s movie, so it benefits for us how it treats women. It's a nice bonus.
yeah, listening to that first portion, Contrarians Corner had some heavy editing because I did lose track of my notes for two reasons. Lose track taking them. One, I was really enjoying the movie. Two, I was eating Chipotle. And three of the two reasons that I said it, just absolutely lost in Gina Davis's gorgeousness. The Fly is based off a short story that was written by George Langland. It was published in June of 1957. It was published in little ditty called Playboy magazine. It was then turned into a film in 1959 that starred Vincent Price, king of original horror. Yeah.
Original Bumble?
As original Bumble. Did he play the
Or did he play the asshole ex-boyfriend?
Oh, it looks like the plot was real different for this one.
Really?
I mean, I'm assuming someone became a fly in the end. But.
Vincent Price was just playing the fly.
Hey, it's me, the fly.
Maybe he was just a baboon.
Jesus. That'd be good, too, if he was just like in a monkey costume. Hey, it's me, the baboon. Terrible Vincent Price.
Terrible baboon.
It's Vincent Price. I mean, he played all these different characters, but he had the same voice for everything. It's like Robert De Niro.
How dare you? Robert De Niro is a chameleon when he wants to be.
Okay. I was about to say, in your duration of doing this podcast, do you really want to make that argument? But it's not like De Niro's ever, like, changed his voice or anything. Has he ever had a movie where he was, like, British or anything like that?
I mean, he played Frankenstein.
He did. He said, "Don't bring that fire near me."
You talking to me?
Look at my neck bolts. I'm scary. Okay. Back to the lecture at hand. Released August 15th, 1986. A definitive Jeff Goldblum vehicle. Starring, obviously, his counterpart was Gina Davis, who was his girlfriend at the time. So, done, Jeff Goldblum.
They hooked up during shooting, or did they know each other? Were they already dating
She
before?
was brought into the foray. He suggested she play the role.
Good cast. I mean, it's obviously sucks for everybody else that had to audition, but she's great.
Oh, Howard!
I dare say she's better than he is in the movie.
Yeah, agreed. Howard Shore did the music. That's cool. I didn't know that. David Cronenberg, obviously the director. 20th Century Fox released it. Budget of an estimated between 10 and 15 million. I couldn't find an actual number. Box office return of around 60 million, so definitely held its keep. Interesting trivia, aside from the 92% that we had mentioned. Let's see here. Mel Brooks did not want people to know he was a producer on the film because he thought people wouldn't take it seriously if they knew he was involved.
Mel Brooks presents The Fly.
When people did find out, he decided to make the most of it by handing out dealy boppers at the premiere.
What the hell?
Dealy boppers are the little like antennas that like wiggle around and shit. That's amazing. Several sequences were filmed but cut from the final release, including a sequence where Brundle sends a cat and a surviving baboon through the telepods, resulting in a mutated creature he beats to death with a pipe.
Jesus.
Glad that was cut out. A scene where Brundle climbs the outside of his building as an insect, and an insect limb emerges from his side. And an alternate ending in which Veronica has another dream of her unborn child, this time as a baby with beautiful butterfly wings, which would have been fucking dumb.
It should have been a baby with Eric Stoltz's face. Because, Eric Stoltz is in The Fly, too.
That'd be good. Originally, Tim Burton was supposed to direct it, which I'm so happy he didn't.
That would have been a different movie.
Yeah.
Less gross. Sadder, maybe. Oh, this is pretty sad as it is.
Oh, very. Michael Keaton, John Lithgow, Mel Gibson, Richard Dreyfuss, Willem Dafoe, and James Woods all either auditioned for or were considered to play it at one point in time. Could you imagine
James
Richard
Woods.
Dreyfuss?
Oh.
I, sir, am the fly. The fly.
James Woods, just a complete asshole before he even becomes a fly.
No shit.
He's already spitting on people before he's mutated.
In the bathroom scene, as Seth's gradual transformation into Brundlefly begins, Seth has lesions on his face. Lesions is a skin condition that is related to HIV and AIDS. The film was released during the dawn of the AIDS epidemic, and the film has been seen by many as a metaphor for the disease, and the film deals with even more basic issues that everybody can identify with. David Cronenberg was surprised when the film was seen by some critics as a cultural metaphor for AIDS, since he originally intended the film to be more of a general analogy for disease itself, with terminal conditions like cancer and more specifically the aging process.
I did wonder while we were watching it. I was almost going to ask you, when is it that AIDS became a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because it seemed like a little too early. What is this, 86?
Yeah. Yeah. It was right around that point in time. And truth be told, I watch this now, I'm like, what? How could you get that read from it? But at that point in time, I mean, obviously I wasn't even born yet, so I can't put myself in that mindset.
Well, but it is, as I was watching it, and honestly, I hadn't thought about that read. I hadn't read about it. And it did come to mind because of deletions, mainly. Because I was thinking of Tom Hanks in Philadelphia in similar makeup. Obviously, Hanks doesn't lose an ear or anything, but it's so you have the look like deletions, and then when she becomes pregnant, I felt like, wow, that's, if you're looking at it as a metaphor for AIDS, that's really fucked up, because she would be afraid of the kid being sick.
Certainly an interesting read. 5 hours for makeup, 5 pounds of makeup. Gina Davis claims that the only time she felt grossed out by the amount of gore was
during the sex scenes.
Jesus. Was in the scene where Seth's ear falls off and she holds him. She states that her reaction was genuine, because I had read that elsewhere before that that was basically just something that Cronenberg put in there and didn't tell her was going to happen. So her
the ear falling off?
So that was her genuine reaction. And then, save this for last, I nearly doubled over when I read this. The character Mr. Bean, played by Rowan Atkinson, makes at least 2 references to this film. Mr. Bean's wardrobe is the same as Brundle's, and the sentence, "Be afraid, be very afraid," was used to promote the character's first movie. Because God knows I love me some Rowan Atkinson, and when I was looking through all the shit that I was finding, I was like, wait, why is his name in here? And I read it, and I was not disappointed.
Before we get to talking about the movie, I have 2 negative quotes.
You did mention the 2, so we're using the whole green splotch gambit.
Yes. I'm sure there's some more hot takes if you scour the internet, but they're not Rotten Tomatoes certified, so they didn't make it here. Ralph Novak from People magazine says, any dolt could fill a movie with sickening stuff, and there's nothing scary, funny, or interesting about what Cronenberg has done. It's just tedious and insulting.
What an asshole.
Get the swatter.
Okay. He saved it.
And then Pat Graham from the Chicago Reader says, Image so much subverts intention that Jeff Goldblum's tragic fly person finally seems more ludicrous than affecting. Voyeuristically bizarre. Fly person.
Fly person. So.
Fly man.
Come on, human fly here. Yes, this is real talk. This is where we talk about how we really feel. This is the second
sad?
portion of the podcast. Yeah, it was like the ending's really.
It's a bummer of an ending.
It is. It's well done, but yeah. Yeah, I had seen parts of this movie, and I pretty much had seen it all, just never in sequence. I'd caught a lot of it on TV over the years and whatnot. So I was kind of surprised when you brought it up for us to do that. I realized I hadn't seen it all the way through. But thanks to Hulu for having it available for us.
Yeah, I, unlike you, I've seen it a number of times, but it's been a while. And I told you when I got here and you told me that you'd never seen it, I grew up with it. And the first time I didn't even watch the movie, it was just my uncle telling me the story. I mean, I wouldn't say in graphic detail, but he told me basically the entire thing that happened. And I remember thinking at the time, just, wow, that's a bummer of a story.
Yeah.
And then when I finally got to watch it, when I was old enough to watch it, it was just as much of a bummer as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
The description, because he had told me that final scene where the fly grabs the gun and puts it to its head, and he said the eyes of the fly are like the eyes of the actor that was playing the fly. And yeah, he wasn't wrong. I mean, when you look at the creature work that they did, I mean, I'm not saying that he looks just like Jeff Goldblum, that you can see Jeff Goldblum in it.
No.
But I think that it looks like a living thing.
More of a Louis Anderson face.
But it looks like a. It doesn't look like a fake special effect. It looks like an actual creature, and because you've gone through the whole journey of the movie, it's very easy to just see Jeff Goldblum in there.
Yeah.
So it's
Old
brutal.
Yeller. It's the ending of Old Yeller, man. That's what it is.
The dog like puts his paw on the rifle.
Oh, Jesus. Couldn't handle it. Yeah, the ending is very memorable, very emotional, especially for such a silly, at times, I mentioned Dead Alive on our last episode also, but there's some sequences of gore and violence and, decay that are very reminiscent of Dead Alive, but it pulls off an emotional ending really well.
I mean, he has his Oscar clip, which we alluded to in Contrarians Corner, which I think is really good. Even though he's buried under all that makeup,
Yeah.
it's still really good and really sad. Probably, again, because we've been on the journey, so he was so dorky and likable at the beginning that it's just sad to see him turn into that monster, and then him acknowledging that he's going to hurt her if she doesn't leave.
Yeah.
But probably even sadder, I think it's earlier when he loses the ear and he just admits that he's scared, and he asks, does he no, she just hugs him, right? He doesn't ask for a hug. But anyway, it's good. So, I mean, when I say Gina Davis is the MVP, that doesn't mean that Goldblum doesn't do a lot of heavy lifting here. He's really good.
Yeah, he's great, especially growing up in the 90s and now wasn't used to Goldblum like this. And so
Playing a character.
Yeah, not just playing Jeff Goldblum. And yeah, it's interesting, and he's really good. And I always use the phrase "sum of its parts," and this movie is certainly that. I mean, John Getz, honestly, he's not bad, but anyone could have played that role.
Right, he's just playing typical 80s asshole.
This movie has 3 stars. It's David Cronenberg, Gina Davis, and
the baboon.
God, those things are adorable. I was talking to Julio when we were watching that. Like, baboons are fucking cute, but God, they could fuck your shit up if they wanted to. That was something.
Especially after you kill one of their own.
Yeah, for real.
In a reckless experiment.
That was not realistic at all. Out of all the things that were realistic in this movie, if that baboon would have been like, motherfucker, was my cousin Joe. But Jeff Goldblum, we use the phrase "go for it" also, and man, he was all in on this movie.
Early contender for the Embry, I think.
That's a fair point, especially like I said. The point being, there's been a lot of things since that you could argue Jeff Goldblum wasn't all in or had gotten into a certain zone of comfort.
I think he coasts on his Goldblum charisma.
Mm-hmm. Which I was going to say, there's nothing really wrong with that. We brought up Robert De Niro earlier, and De Niro's made more things coasting that are better than most people's 100%. So, pick your spots. Gina Davis.
We don't deserve her.
We don't. Why was she not a bigger thing?
Well, I mean, I think she was at some point, and then, I mean, it's not like you still see her.
The
You
point
just don't
that
see her in enough movies.
Yeah, that's my point. She should still be like headlining things.
Right. Is it just Cutthroat Island? Was that really?
It was a huge part of it.
That sucks. Because I haven't seen the movie, but I don't think it's her fault. I'll blame Rennie Harlin. That's Rennie Harlin, right?
Yeah, she was married to him at the time.
Oh man.
Yeah, I believe. I think I read that somewhere, so don't quote me. But man, that movie ruined a lot of people. I don't know if it still is. I remember for a while it was still like the biggest bomb, like when you factor in inflation and shit like that, considering all the stuff that they put into it. I have it pulled up in front of me right now. I forgot it was a Christmas release also. Dear God. Yeah, it was 100 million, made 10 million back, but that was just the budget for the movie. We're talking like it was fucking Travolta shit movie, Battlefield Earth. It was that they had fucking action figures and video games and all this shit put into it, and it just.
But the high concept is really good. Female pirate. All right, that's all you need. Played by Gina Davis. I'm in. Directed by Rennie Harling. Hang on.
Matthew Modine's there. But this
just bring it back. Just do a remake. Cutthroat Island, starring Gina Davis. Still, get a good director.
Yeah, and then after
directed by David Fincher.
My God.
Actually, no. Who directed Wonder Woman? Directed by.
I don't know. I don't know these things about modern movies.
Zero Dark 30. Who directed Zero Dark 30? Let's do that. Catherine Bigelow.
Yes.
Directed by Catherine Bigelow.
Why not?
I saw Gina Davis is on Grey's Anatomy right now.
Oh, okay.
She can take a break in between seasons.
She did make The Long Kiss Goodnight after Cutthroat Island. That movie fucks hard, like I was telling you about during the recording. That movie's fucking awesome.
That's Shane Black, right?
Yes, and yeah, she's a fucking badass in that.
Let me guess. There's an annoying, precocious kid in the movie.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. Shane Black wrote and produced it, and Rennie Harlin directed that also. She was all in on the Harlin train. But on the opposite side of the coin, that movie had a budget of $65 million and made $90 million.
Oh.
So that's that Samuel L. charisma. That's what that'll get you. And then after that, she spent the remainder of the 90s into the mid 2000s doing Stuart Little movies.
Man.
Point being, Gina Davis is fucking awesome.
She's great in this movie.
She is tremendous in this movie. And this set into play Beetlejuice, Earth Girls Are Easy, Accidental Tourist, Thelma and Louise, League of Their Own. My God. She was just poised to take over the world. She was also in Fletch. I didn't know that. She's tremendous in this, though. You could make the argument as good as the other parts of this are, the special effects, the story, Goldblum, the direction. This whole movie would not work without a performance like Gina Davis's.
Yes, and I would argue it's even more impressive because I think she's handicapped by the 80s. Like the fact that this movie is made at a time where even if her protagonist was a woman, it was very limited what she could do. A lot of it is just her reacting to shit. And Goldblum is the star, even though he ends up being the villain.
Mm-hmm.
All Gina Davis does is be there so he can explain stuff to her, and then so she can be put in danger. And then that's it. I mean, even at the very end, yes, she shoots him, but it's still her participation in the climax is kind of.
She's a damsel in distress in the climax.
Yeah, but still, you're feeling for her. The person I care for the most through the entire movie is Gina Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for Goldblum. Definitely don't feel bad for the other dude, but she is the heart of the movie, and I think that it's a lot more work. It takes a lot more talent to really get somebody to invest on you so much when you're really not doing that much in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She's just there, she cuts the back hair and she hooks up with him, laughs at his jokes, sticks around. It's crazy. As I was watching the movie, it felt so 80s to me in the way that it handled. Right now, you wouldn't expect to have a female protagonist that would be so handicapped by the script and by the social surroundings.
And God help you if you do.
Right. You would have critics decrying, like, well, why isn't she doing more?
Mm-hmm.
Why is she just such a victim through most of the movie and certainly in the third act?
Yeah.
But still, the fact that I think that one of the reasons why maybe there's not so much criticism, I didn't go deep on the quotes, and like I said, there's only 2 negatives, but I I think that she makes it work in spite of all that stuff because she's just so good. You buy every single moment. She shouldn't be attracted to this idiot, but she is, and I buy it.
Yeah. It's especially with all these movies we've done, and when you watch something like this, it really makes you realize how borderline revolutionary Terminator was in having Sarah Connor as like a badass in it. But then he made Avatar, so yeah.
Hey,
I'm just
blue
kidding.
people.
Well, did you read about the 4 sequels that have officially been announced?
Yeah, which I mean, we might use this for like after the episode, but I have no problem with that.
No.
He can do whatever he wants. I just understand the outrage online. What do you care? Why does it hurt you if Cameron decides to make 10 Avatar movies?
I don't know. I just don't want to pretend that it's something it's not. It's a movie that made a shit ton of money, was like flash in the pan, but left no cultural footprint.
That's not accurate. We're talking about it. That alone means that it made a cultural.
How many kids do you
impact.
see at Halloween dressed up as avatars?
Oh well, it's been a while, but let it. I mean, when it comes out again, everybody's gonna go watch
I
it.
know.
And when
see
it came out, everybody was talking about it. It was like it pushed 3D. And remember,
Did you see it in 3D?
yeah,
Yeah, it was dope.
it was really good. It was the best 3D, and I generally don't like 3D in movies,
Same.
but
It was Juno in the sense of it was fine, and then everyone started like talking about it being Best Picture of the
right,
year.
best picture of the year. No, come on, calm down.
Yeah.
But
For what it is.
it was good, and it's especially when you think about it as in, okay, part 1 of whatever else he has planned. Sure, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Cameron usually hasn't let me down, even if I don't love. I mean, I don't love Titanic. You love Titanic.
I
more
do
than
love Titanic.
Right, but how many people were just skeptical of Titanic and thinking, "Oh, well, this guy is just going over budget," and then
This will be a flop.
right, I think that he can do it, and maybe I won't like the 4 sequels. Maybe I'll like one of them.
How many will star Sam Worthington?
All of them, I
If
hope.
we're lucky. David Cronenberg, what's your relationship with him? But
We haven't talked in a while, but back in the 80s,
we were going over
buddies.
his filmography, and he definitely has been around the block. Obviously, Scanners, Videodrome, Naked Lunch, Crash, not the Academy Award winner, but the James Spader.
The polarizing senior citizens will walk out halfway through,
Yes.
quarter of the way through, really, as soon as Ilias Koteas makes out with James Spader.
History of Violence and Eastern Promises. He did A Dangerous Method, too. Ooh, Cosmopolis. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I watched half of Cosmopolis. It's good. I just fell asleep before I could finish it. That's crazy. I've seen more of his movies than I thought, but not a fan of Videodrome.
What?
I know.
It's weird.
I'm not a big fan when it's just visuals for the sake of visuals. It doesn't captivate me as much. And I think that Videodrome is a lot of just cool ideas and concepts and visuals, and the story is really not that strong. I prefer to know what's going on so I can just enjoy the movie. For that matter,
Homer's watching Twin Peaks on this one episode, and he just is looking at the TV. I have no idea what's going on.
but I mean, also to be fair, I watched it a long time ago, not knowing that it was that kind of movie. Maybe if
Yeah.
I watched it now, knowing that I don't need to worry so much about the plot and just kind of let it take me. Like I watched Eraserhead a couple months ago for the first time.
It's still really weird.
Really weird, but I knew that I was in for that kind of stuff.
I see what you mean.
Right, so I just went with it.
Like if you thought you were watching this and it was like you thought you were watching a romantic comedy, you might be
Right, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Why? He did Existence, which I do not care for. And I remember at the time that people were comparing Existence to The Matrix and saying that Existence was the smart version of The Matrix. Fuck you. It's again, weak plot. And in this case, it's not that it's just supposed to be weird. I just think that sometimes he might care more about the visual style and maybe the themes that he's exploring and doesn't care so much about the actual plot mechanics. I think Existence has a really weak plot.
Kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna I was going to word it a bit more positively than you.
Now it sounds like I hate Cronenberg.
No.
Actually, I like A History of Violence. I like Eastern Promises. I like Crash. Crash, again, I knew exactly what I was getting into because the hype machine had really informed me before it arrived in Peruvian theaters. So
It was also, I remember it as a kid, because I was 9 or 10 at the time. It was one of the first.
that is crazy. You were a kid. I was in film school.
Hey, man, they send you to film school when you're 12 in Peru, right?
That's true.
What I was going to say was I remember that being, as a kid, it was the first ever movie that was getting big publicity that was NC-17, so that was how I learned what NC-17 was. I've never seen Crash, but it was the first movie that I saw. I was like, what does that mean?
It means sex.
And I've only seen one NC-17 movie in the theater, that is. We saw it together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big group adventure.
That was. What I was going to say about David Cronenberg is he is a director that is not much of a chameleon. He has a clear vision for what he wants to do with his movies and usually figures out a way to do it. I haven't heard too many stories about David Cronenberg like being mad about a movie of his that came out and the studio held something back. And I think that's because of the 70s and 80s he established his reputation. I'm pretty sure studios that finance his films know exactly what they're getting into in terms of visionary. I mean, Eastern Promises and History of Violence, I wouldn't call those, things that rely on visual effects.
But they're kind of like The Fly. I mean, yes, The Fly, I guess for the 80s, it was just very, it grossed a lot of people out. But now, when you watch it, it's still, even now, reading through some of the quotes, there are people calling it his most accessible movie. And that makes sense because it's a very accessible story.
Yeah.
And then he just puts all his weird shit on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Someone like my dad would be very quick just to, blow it off because of, the gore and visual effects. But
Oh, that would be a shame.
it is a shame. That's why I argue with him about movies like that, because if you can look to what the actual message and story is, it's actually very, like I said, the ending's fucking an emotional ending. Poor little fly.
Poor Gina Davis.
Poor Gina Davis, yeah. Poor little Goldblum. Get that stupid John Getz out of here. And
I actually like, now that we're in real talk, I like that the movie subverts our expectations or kind of messes with your head because the John Getz character is such an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you get to see a different shade of him once Goldblum goes full fly. Because it's not like he's showing up there with a shotgun because he's an asshole. He's actually trying to save the day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right? That he... I think that he's actually trying to save Gina Davis because, well, she's a human being, not because he needs to win this dick measuring contest with Jeff Goldblum.
The post-credit scene, if you had stuck around, it would have been that doctor in the abortion office with all the caution tape up around the hole in the wall, just telling the clientele, don't mind the draft.
That guy is the fourth most important character in the movie.
He is. And when I was looking over when I was doing my research and I saw on Wikipedia, they only have 5 characters listed.
Who's the fifth? Oh, the hooker, probably. Not the hooker, but the woman that has absolutely no problem having sex with him.
Lady of the Night, Tawny is her name. It's a perfect 90-minute movie. It's a perfect sci-fi movie, but it also has a good message rooted in it. Or not, I guess not a good message, but
Be a good scientist. Don't be like Jeff
That is
Goldblum.
a good message. Fucking do some tests before you hop into this.
Don't drink.
Don't drink and run experiments.
Yes.
But a relatable story and an interesting one. But again, all I could fucking focus on was how good Gina Davis was and just being upset that, I don't know, we see things, she could have her wrestler somewhere down the road, like Mickey Rourke had with the wrestler.
Yeah.
Of course, to be fair, she hasn't become like a punchline like Mickey Rourke was.
Right, no, it's just that you don't see her as often as you did once upon a time. I guess if you're a Grey's Anatomy fan, then yeah, you see her every week or something. But if you just go by movies, there was a time when Gina Davis was in movies a lot, and now she isn't.
And in big movies that when you watch them and realize they came out in the order they came in, looking like she was, being groomed. Obviously, it's not Game of Thrones, but you know what I mean? Like being groomed to be like this top dog in the yard. And also maybe she just fucking got tired of it.
It could be the Rick Moranis thing where they didn't leave me, I left them.
Yeah, I mean, after Cutthroat Island, you probably get tired of hearing really bad things about you, especially like in a big situation like that. So,
Or you could be just, sometimes actors and actresses, they just decide to cut back and just focus on their family, whatever.
I guess if you take something away from this podcast, know that me and Julio really wish Gina Davis was in more things.
Goldblum is doing fine.
Goldblum, yeah, he's good.
Cronenberg is doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
And Gina Davis, I mean, I'm sure she's doing fine, but we would like to see more of her.
Please, Gina, if you're listening,
Just
do something.
I mean, you don't have to do anything. Just find something you like.
Just call Terrence Malick, see what he's doing.
I don't know that Malick. I haven't seen his last few movies, but I mean, the last one I watched of his was Tree of Life, which I liked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's done 3, I want to say, since then.
I did enjoy Tree of Life for what it was, but I had to keep up a facade that I really didn't because like Reed and Eddie and there was people that like loved it so much that I just had to.
Did you see it in theaters?
No,
It makes a difference.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like fucking Dunkirk.
Well, it's like just tying it in with what we're talking about.
There you go, Christopher Nolan getting Gina Davis in a movie.
Oh, there you go. In the next Batman movie that he's gonna do, she can play Batwoman.
She can play Andrea Beaumont from.
Tree of Life, Cronenberg. I mean, Malick goes very hard on the visual aspect of it, and maybe the story doesn't quite hold your hand the way it should sometimes. But that was one where, having seen a couple of Malick movies, when I went into Tree of Life, I knew what I was in for.
Yeah.
So I just sat back, just let it wash
Let
over
it happen.
me. Yeah.
Jumping kind of all over the place more so than we usually do in Real Talk here.
That's a Cronenberg effect.
It definitely is because this movie's all over the place. But there's really, I think a big part of it is we usually don't do movies like this that do have such a almost overstated history and record. And so it seems cliche for us to be like, Goldblum's good. Visuals are good. It's pretty scary.
You haven't seen the original. I haven't, the
No.
Vincent Price one, but I am curious to watch it, especially now that you've said that it's very different. And I'm curious to read the.
Let's go to Paris and see the opera version of it. The Contrarians on location.
Well, I just want to know what the original is about in the sense of what is it.
I'm sure you can find the short story online easily.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what does it say? Is it from his point of view, her point of view? I'm assuming it just sounds like Cronenberg went and did his own thing. So, or is it more like Kafka's Metamorphosis, and it's just this mind fuck where a dude wakes up being a fly one day?
The Fly 2, John Getz was the only one to reprise his role.
Really,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I just know that.
And Eric Stoltz was the son of Seth and Veronica.
right.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Man, they couldn't get Gina Davis.
No, 89, that would have been...
She was too big for that shit.
Was that Thelma and Louise yet?
Who
Not
directed
yet.
The Fly 2? Rennie Harling?
Chris Wallace?
That tells
Not
you
the
everything.
Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace. Let's see what else he directed. The Vagrant, an episode of Tales from the Crypt, and The Fly 2.
That is just
Whoa!
prime Hollywood milking a concept for all it's worth. You don't need a sequel to The Fly. That is the perfect ending. And I love, now that we're in Real Talk, I love that it ends the way it ends. She shoots him, she cries, go to
Done.
credits. Yeah.
That is like, I don't want to sound too douchey by saying Pete Cronenberg, but that's just like, there it is, you're done. Get the fuck out of my movie theater.
Next show's in 30 minutes. Ushers need to clean up.
Chris Wallace, whatever the case. The other movie, The Vagrant, was a horror movie starring Bill Paxton, Graham Kirkowski, a financial clerk who is being driven insane by a homeless man after moving into a new home across the street from where the homeless man has been squatting.
Is it a comedy?
It was produced by Mel Brooks, so we'll assume so. Good stuff. 92%. Fine with that. If I had to give it a rating for what it is, it's an A.
Yeah, 4.5 stars, maybe even 5. I don't know. I mean, it has that 80s twinge that I've been alluding to through the entire episode. That
It does. And if you want to dissect its points of inconsistencies and stupidity, you can pretty easily.
I mean, I'm okay with Goldblum being
An idiot?
a terrible scientist, because the movie. Well, they do have that line where John Getz mentions that he was eligible for the Nobel Prize, maybe, or for some sort of prize when he was really young. But that doesn't mean that he's not a doofus, right? So he could still be incredibly talented and yet be socially awkward and insecure. And really, I don't think that he drinks very often, but he drinks because in that scene, because Gina Davis just accidentally fucked with his head. He's figured out that she used to have a relationship with her editor. So I can understand, and maybe he has a little bit of guilt over the dead baboon. I can justify every bad decision he makes. It still doesn't make him a good scientist, but I buy it.
Well, there you go. You can point out plot holes, but then you have reasons to explain it.
Yeah, now gender politics, that's more fucked up, right? The fact that he just grabs that woman at the bar, drags her out, and she's kind of cool with it.
Yeah, that's just watching it now, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like, when I rate it, do I rate it as a movie that I watch now?
Similar
or do
to what
I
I
rate
was
it as
saying, like, yeah, I can't put myself in, I can't put myself under the guise of, the AIDS epidemic too. So I have a hard time reading the movie as something like that. So it's all about proper expectations and putting yourself in proper context.
Well, you kind of deflated the AIDS thing when you said that Cronenberg was not intending to do that. You can still read it as that, and I think it's kind of a powerful, interesting read. But yeah, if he says that he was surprised.
Yeah.
He said old age? What the fuck? I mean, yes, getting old sucks, but not to that extent.
It's like Halloween and people reading it of like male domination or like sexual repression and the phallic symbol that the knife represents. And James Carpenter was like, no. It was in a documentary, so I was like, people have too much time on their hands sometimes. Okay, so that was The Fly. We're moving on to another film in our next episode that will be within the same realm of science fiction. And that is Johnny Mnemonic, after it was egregiously left off both the tables of ourselves and the IMDb Journey podcast.
Doing our Keanu Reeves draft. Yeah, we're still paying for our sins.
We got our ass kicked.
Yeah, and now somehow we are doing Johnny Mnemonic, and they're not. How is that fair? But yeah,
I've never seen Johnny Mnemonic.
I saw it a long time ago. I'll save my Johnny Mnemonic stories for when we do the episode.
Sounds good. So moving along to our usual closing segment plugs. First and foremost, our opening and closing tracks provided by the Festive Years. Opening is Last Stand. Closing is Summer of '99. Their album Don't Let Me Use You. Google them. Julio, I believe you said they had some new music drop recently.
Yes,
so.
I need to listen to it and then text Chris and be like, hey, that was awesome.
Can we maybe update our music?
Yeah,
see.
or just like play it just for fun in between episodes.
That works for me.
In between segments. Also, Hans Rodgieser, he did our logo. You can contact him on Twitter at Mildemonios. That's MILDEMONIOS. Or you can email him at mildemonios@hotmail.com. He has a podcast called Nacion Combi. It's in Spanish. It's about Peruvian stuff mostly. If you're interested in Peruvian stuff and you know Spanish, listen to it.
Myself, first plug goes to Hulu for uploading the entire series of King of the Hill. God bless.
There goes the next 2 months of your life.
That's right. Well, and I got the PWG Battle of Los Angeles set in the mail today, so that's my weekend right there, and got it mailed to me just a shade under a decade too. So, secondly, shout out to Julio. He edited our 4th anniversary episode, and I was a huge fan of that, including all the audio drops from movies and things of that nature. We kind of split up the editing responsibilities, so sometimes if you can notice slight differences here and there, I think we strive to keep up the same level of quality.
I think that's mostly the same.
But that being said, there's some things here and there, and thought that was really well done. And I really enjoyed listening to it, not to toot our own horn, but toot toot. That was a good episode. And then lastly, watched Gentlemen Prefer Blondes on Monday, and and that inspired me for us to do a potential Marilyn Monroe arc in the future. Really good, and like I was telling you earlier, I think her legacy and just being overshadowed in many ways how actually talented she was. So watching movies like that, it's like, oh yeah, she was really. It's like I don't know who's a good example of that. Frank Sinatra or something like that. When you see like prime Sinatra, you're like, fuck me, this dude had the pipes. Same with Marilyn Monroe. Difference was she was a good comedic actress as well. So I never saw Sinatra.
I was gonna say, are you ragging on Sinatra? Is he in Ocean's 11, the original? Maybe, I don't know. It's not good. I mean, I know some people like it, but I wasn't a big fan.
But yeah, not too much else going on here. I'll update y'all on the next episode with Battle of Los Angeles. Yes, he was. The whole Rat Pack was in it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I couldn't tell you what he did. He probably sang, maybe danced a little bit, and seduced women, drank a lot.
Yeah. Check.
Just described every Rat Pack movie. All right, so my plugs. I just watched 2 movies I really liked. I watched a bunch of movies, but the 2 I liked. Alex, are you a Queen fan? Because I watched Bohemian Rhapsody, and I don't know much about Queen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that affected my enjoyment in the sense that it helped me really enjoy the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard from a lot of hardcore Queen fans that were like, well, why don't you just listen to Queen's greatest hits and skip watching the movie? Because they just basically criticize the movie for being kind of a by the numbers biopic, which it is.
Yeah.
Of course, what makes it special is a lot of it is the music, which is awesome. Because if you like Queen, obviously you like the music. And Rami Malek's performance as Freddie Mercury, he's amazing. And then I guess there is some fudging of the chronology and some of the stuff that happens, which, not being a Queen expert, I had no idea. So I watched it and I just took the story as they were telling me the story. And I didn't have anything distracting me saying, oh, well, that's not how this happened, or this didn't happen until much later, or whatever, right? So I think that maybe in this case, the less you know about Queen, the more likely you're to enjoy the movie.
That's fair. Did they talk about how he died?
No, it ends. I mean, he gets diagnosed with AIDS during the movie, but the movie ends at. Do you know about their Live Aid concert?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the end of the movie.
Oh, okay.
So they end on a high note, basically, which is great. I mean, the last is not a spoiler because I think it's on every bit of marketing now, but they recreate the Live Aid performance. The last 20 minutes or so of the movie is just the entire set list. And Rami Malek is amazing. I haven't looked at the actual performance on YouTube. They said that you can just watch it there.
Mm-hmm.
That was another point. It was like, just watch the Live Aid performance on YouTube. I think that it's... Obviously, if you didn't enjoy the movie, this doesn't apply. But to me, because I enjoyed the movie, the Live Aid performance, it's such a strong payoff to the, 2 hours that preceded, because you get to really invest in the characters. And then when you see them performing, you're not just seeing a performance, you're seeing the culmination of 2 hours of build-up. So I had a blast. I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I was going to, because I went in after raving out for a few weeks and reviews had been mixed, and it kind of influenced my expectations.
I was going to say, I don't recall a movie in recent history that's had as, when you say mixed reviews, as solidly mixed as this was. Because I've heard things like you're telling me, and then I've heard people like stay away from it. To the point of like it almost seems like tribal, like there's two sides to the argument of it.
But see, I've seen very, very strong reactions against it,
Mm-hmm.
and I can kind of understand, because if Queen is your favorite band, if you idolize Queen, if you really feel protective of their history, then this can come across as a watered down version, because it's PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember hearing a quote from Freddie Mercury in an interview where he was saying, yeah, someday somebody will make a movie about my life, and it's going to have to be XXX because I've done some really crazy shit. And of course, this movie is not it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't shy away from his sexuality, but it's not the point of the movie.
Yeah.
It's just something else that happens. I mean, that's not true. I think that really, once you think about it, it is the point of the movie, because I think that they make it clear that being gay in the 80s or being bisexual in the 80s, clearly, as difficult as it is now, it was more difficult in the 80s, and that led to a lot of his inner struggles. In the movie, can be read as him kind of accepting his sexuality.
Interesting.
So,
Oscar buzz.
Malik's definitely getting nominated. If he might win, I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's great. The rest of the movie, no. I mean, they don't have. It's not like they can nail original song.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be
Best
great.
adapted song.
It'd be great if they got him to perform just for the hell of it, but that's not gonna happen.
I don't know. They're doing Bradley Cooper and
Right, but that's
Lady
best,
Gaga.
but that's best original song. They're actually nominated.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
Cool.
but oh man, it was just I came out of it pumped. Just wanted to listen to Queen.
Just fist pumping on the whole way home.
Yeah. And that's another one where watch it in movie theaters. If it sounds like something you would like, you would be cheating yourself out of a great experience if you don't watch it on the big screen with the loud sound and everything. And then
IMAX.
yes. And then I don't know if you've heard of Overlord, the World War II zombie movie.
Yes, I really want to see that. That's what it is that I want to see.
Yes, watch it. I don't know how much longer it's gonna be in theaters, so you need to hurry.
Okay.
It's worth it. Slow cooker. It takes a while to get going, but then once it gets going, it's so good.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was very happy with it. That's it. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. You're gonna watch it, and really, that's a movie where I can't. Why would I give you more details? I just said World War II and zombies. That's all you need, really.
It's like Wolfenstein.
Yeah, it has a. Well, you haven't seen. There's a couple of actors that I know, like the two main actors.
It's got the blonde guy from 22 Jump Street.
Okay, I haven't seen 22 Jump Street, and that guy kind of sucks in the movie, and he's the second lead, but that's fine. He doesn't need to be great.
Okay.
Right. The other lead is the kid from Fences, the Denzel Washington movie. Do you watch it? No. He was also in The Leftovers, which I love The Leftovers.
Has it come out since 2014? Unless it's like Good Time, Dunkirk, or Star Wars. I haven't seen it.
And then the third lead is the sniper from Jack Ryan, the Amazon series, which you haven't seen. And someday you'll get to it because it's Jim Halpert.
Yeah. He's got a beard in it,
No, he doesn't.
right? What am
No.
I thinking of?
A Quiet Place.
No, I saw that. What's the other thing he did where he has a beard? It's like an action thing.
Oh, 13
Ghosts?
minutes? No.
Whatever.
13 Floors? The Michael Bay movie.
Oh, Michael Bay did it?
Yeah.
Jesus. All right.
I haven't seen it. It's the Benghazi thing.
That's right. It's just Jim with a beard. That's all I know.
And that is it for my plugs.
All
Watch
right.
Overlord. Watch Bohemian Rhapsody if you can separate your expectations from Queen reality, I guess. I compared it to reading a book and then watching the movie based on the book. If you're...
Like Watchmen?
Yes, although no, because Watchmen is a very faithful adaptation except for like the key moments where it deviates. But a lot of it is just basically literally what they...
I see what you mean.
Yeah, no, this is more like you read a book and then you watch the 2.5-hour adaptation and you're like, well, they left this out, they left this out, they left this out. This was supposed to be more graphic.
But this was good, and this was good, and this was good.
Yes, but if you're very attached to the original material,
Oh, I see what you mean.
you can't really... The stuff that annoys you a lot more than the stuff that you like.
I see.
Yeah. I would stay away if you're like a hardcore Queen fan that can't look past the movie not being a documentary. And that might be, easier said than done. I don't know. I'm not a Queen fan, so I really can't tell you. I mean, I am, but I'm not somebody that knows their life story.
Gotcha. We'll take that to the bank. All right, well, that was The Fly. Johnny Mnemonic is in the pipeline, so that'll be when we come at you next. As always, though, we do appreciate you guys listening to us here on The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
The summer of 1999, back when you blew my mind and told me secrets in the dark. I'm just fine. Thanks for asking, I just can't quite get by. That time in 1999, the summer of 1999, the summer of 1999.
Hey guys, do you have a screenplay you need feedback on? Well, you are in luck. I, Julio, the half of the Contrarians that speaks with an accent, I'm doing official screenplay coverage now, and if you're a listener of the show, you'll get a discount. Just email wearethecontrarians@gmail.com and tell us which is your favorite episode of the podcast and why. Turnaround is about 2 weeks, and you'll get detailed notes that are even more thorough than what we do in the show, although it'll also be less funny. For more information, email wearethecontrarians@gmail.com or visit our website, wearethecontrarians.com, and click on the Julio Reads Your Scripts link.
Your voice is beautiful. He's turning into a machine. He's like this big fuck machine that like no, I'm not going to go with that.